Despite losing out on a few targets now, Newcastle stamp some eventual authority in this transfer window. 23-year-old Swedish star Anthony Elanga is joining his country-born teammate Alexander Isak in the northeast of England. The Geordies have long been in the market for a right winger, and now one is finally on their way. Now, Anthony Elanga is a player that English football fans will be familiar with over 110 appearances within the Premier League now. And within that time, he's provided more assists than some of the star names in the division, while spending the most time sprinting as of last season, and recorded the 5th highest speed out of everyone. He certainly made his mark in the running department, which happens to be a trait Eddie Howe loves, and I'm sure the Newcastle recruitment team would have highly valued. As a player now, Elanga operates on either side of the wings, but mostly played on the right for Nuno Espirito Santo last season. The 23-year-old is a very hard-working, fast, tricky, athletic, unselfish, electric winger that checks the boxes of exactly what Eddie Howe demands. Before he even receives the ball, you'll notice one of his best strengths, which sits within his movements. Elanga is a speedy runner who understands space, his opponent, and the timing of it. Usually, he loves to make an explosive run on the inside of the defender, causing himself to be a very persistent and eager threat for the 90 minutes. Forest are a very direct, counter-attacking team, so this was demonstrated constantly every match and every turnover. They sit deep in a compact 4-4-2 shape, defend well, and then bang, ball into one of the front four and they're off. Elanga loves that space on the inside of his man when drifting across from the right, but he can attack on the outside a little bit wider as well. As soon as Forest win back possession, he's urgent and explosive in his efforts to get forward. His runs are deadly. If there's space ahead, he'll find it, whether that's a run off the ball or him carrying it forwards himself. Elanga excels within his ball carrying both out wide and more centrally. He keeps the ball close and accelerates with serious level speed. He has the overall trickiness to beat a man with footwork, but quite commonly it's his speed, two-footedness and physicality that actually does the talking. Elanga has that yard pace to really jump in front of his man, so to pair this with his expertise in running at his fullback, being able to go either way is very handy. He may not be a primary creative outlet, but his qualities that he holds is exactly what you want in your winger. Elanga shares quality ball retention of the ball with his noticeable physical presence. Elanga doesn't jarringly go down looking to buy fouls all game. He'll continue running forwards with pace and power and aim to shrug off his opponent if he can, to keep moving towards that goal. Once he's closer to the net, he shares genuine coolness and composure in the final third. Forest are very direct, as we've identified, so Elanga has become a real controller and thriver to chaos, whether that's box attacking, direct balls, 1v1s, whatever. He loves combining out wide, looking to lay off the ball and move instantly to drive into space ahead. Within his passing creatively, he shares a quality weight of pass, exemplifying coolness and real conviction in his ball striking. He unselfishly understands when he needs to pass, avoiding the habit of being wasteful. And then talking of ball striking, that conviction in his hit spills across to other areas, such as shooting and crossing. Elanga is very unselfish in the final third. There's a range of instances and assists where he could have gone for glory himself, but instead has the composure and humility to pass the ball across, commonly across goal. A usual occurrence consists of Elanga teasing his man, shifting the ball on his right to strike it across the box, presenting exactly just how deadly of an attacker he is. As a crosser, he often strikes it with his right foot, executing the chance with accuracy and the suitable amount of speed that the attacker will appreciate it. Appreciated so much, he takes set pieces for Nottingham Forest. In the event of him shooting himself, his shot map highlights he likes shooting low, into the lower corners, and that would be right. Elanga is a very comfortable shooter on either foot, scoring 5 out of his 6 goals last season on his weaker foot. His goals primarily sourced from running into open space, those runs in behind we've discussed, and attacking the box. Despite that tall £55 million fee, to me this is a shrewd piece of business from Newcastle and Eddie Howe. Newcastle's record in terms of spending big under Eddie Howe is one to be very proud of. I'm sure Elanga will add to that existing pride. But to discuss Elanga's game off the ball and how he fits the side, let's turn around and talk tactically, piecing together Anthony Elanga into this Eddie Howe system. So firstly, this is what a Newcastle United team looks like with Anthony Elanga in it. You've got a front three of Anthony with Anthony Gordon, Alexandra with Alexander Isak, and Anthony again with Anthony Elanga. What Anthony Elanga brings out of possession is somebody very hard working, which of course Eddie Howe will love. It's a part of the team that you've got to be able to do, you've got to be running, and you've got to be working hard. So Anthony Elanga fits the bill for this. But what we know about Eddie Howe is his very high man-to-man aggressive press. Eddie Howe's almost famous for it. Those evening games in the Champions League, or those evening games when Arsenal or somebody big comes to town, this is when the man-to-man suffocating high press in the loud St James's Park comes to play. And with Anthony Elanga, this only elevates that even more. With Anthony Elanga, you've got a very fast sprinter, a very aggressive presser with decent know-how to his positioning. So when you've got the physicality of Joelinton, Isak, Tonali, Bruno running at you, with the pace, the speed, the running of Elanga, Isak, Gordon, again, the midfield, that just creates a devastating and truly unstoppable force for those big teams trying to play out from the back against them. It's going to force mistakes, and I can already envision Arsenal coming to St James's Park on an evening game and making a mistake with the likes of Elanga pressing them. However, in the middle phase, we do see Newcastle sit off a little bit more. That constant running, that constant chasing isn't going to last forever. It's going to cause injuries, which Newcastle and Eddie Howe have learned in the past, and as we've seen evidence from Ange Postecoglou. So you could see them in this difficult, compact, tricky 5-4-1 shape, but against those bigger teams where ultimately you need more men back and you want to sit in, hit them on the break as much as possible, you could see somebody like Joelinton drop into the back line or drop into left wing back a little bit, creating a very tricky and difficult shape. Of course, last season, Jacob Murphy would drop into the back line to ensure a 5 at the back, almost playing as a bit of a wing back at times. But the problem with that is that Elanga needs to be high. He didn't really do that for Nottingham Forest. For Nottingham Forest, he was in a 4-4-2 press and he was in that front two with Chris Wood. When you get in transition, you want Elanga high because his movements is absolutely devastating and will get you goals and will get you wins essentially. The transitional threat is simply devastating. I mean, Gordon and Elanga attacking the flanks in transition is absolutely crazy. And then you've got the technical ability of Alexander Isak to really create, to hold up the ball, to do a bit of everything, to link up the play, as he is the most complete centre forward probably in world football. But with Anthony Elanga, you've got a younger and much better upgrade on Jacob Murphy. Now, Jacob Murphy has truly been maximised under Eddie Howe, and you have to say fair play to him. He's done very well this late in his career. It's been very unexpected. But with Anthony Elanga, he brings more pace and power and quality and potential into the team. One of the biggest things with Anthony Elanga is his movement. His movement in transition will be absolutely brilliant for Newcastle. It will be integral. Newcastle aren't going to be in transition against every team. They're not going to have the open space against every team in the Premier League and every team in the Champions League. But they certainly will a lot, and Anthony Elanga, if there's any opportunity, will look to exploit that. And with Elanga, Gordon, Isak, and even the likes of Harvey Barnes and Jacob Murphy on the bench, running into that space in behind, it's going to be unstoppable for a lot of teams. And of course, Anthony Elanga can even play on the left, and Jacob Murphy could be here as well. The two can coexist together on the same pitch. What I will say about the signing is that I don't think it takes Newcastle to that next level, but stabilises them at this level. It isn't the type of transfer to really push them really far in the Champions League or win them the Premier League in a title race like. But it does bring stability. It maintains their current Premier League level. Maybe it wasn't Newcastle's first choice within this position, as they were chasing Mbeumo, they were chasing João Pedro, but it certainly is a very good choice, and if they had to compromise, it is a pretty good compromise. One of the biggest things about Elanga is his ability in wide spaces and coming inside. I think with this it will get the very best out of Tino Livramento. The two can link up fantastically. Livramento can come on the inside whilst Elanga's on the outside. Elanga can be on the inside as Livramento is pushing up here. You can create wide overloads with Elanga, Livramento and Bruno G. This will truly be effective. It will allow Newcastle to funnel the ball and progress the ball down the flanks much more efficiently, whilst Isak, whilst Shillington are waiting for the ball to be crossed in. Elanga's crossing will come into play massively too. He can cross the ball superbly, as we've already seen. So Elanga, so Shillington, so Isak, at the back post is already a sequence I can see happening. Against those low blocks, it's always going to be tricky. You know, the 60th minute at St James's Park and it's still 0-0 against a fairly low Premier League team and you're just looking to score. I think Elanga maybe isn't the creative vision that will score a goal from outside the box, will make an amazing pass, but he certainly has the movement. He has the tendency to control chaos within the box to get you a goal. When you look at that final third with Gordon, with Isak, with Elanga, you've got three very prolific players who can finish their dinner, who can create chances for each other within the chaos and even allow Newcastle to go a little bit more direct. This is a brilliant signing, but what I would say is that Newcastle shouldn't be stopping here. Eddie Howe could do with more. Of course, you've possibly got James Trafford coming in goal. You've got a very ageing centre-back partnership, and I think you need a creative midfielder. A lot of people were shouting about Harvey Elliott potentially being the right winger for Newcastle, but why couldn't he be one of these free midfielders? He's hard-working, he's pretty technical, and I think Newcastle need one of these technically creative midfielders just to add a little bit more spice to the attacking third. You don't want to run too much into physicality, into running and power. You need some technical aspects to your team. Somebody in the deep lying areas or somebody in the central areas to really create and unleash this front three a little bit more. Of course, Bruno Guimaraes can be this, but he can't do it all himself. I think you could do with just someone a little bit more technical to bring a few more goals to the team. Somebody to balance the creativity and technical edge with the running, the power and the pace. Thank you guys for watching today's video. If you did enjoy, smash a like and subscribe to the channel. How do you think Anthony Elanga will do at Newcastle United? And where will they finish? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching and I'll see you guys in the next one.